So, what is the best keyboard? What's the best mic? Where should you put your monitor? All these are really good questions, and I think in time I can make a video on certain monitors, certain keyboards, and all that jazz. But the most important thing I thought to get out there is how should you just set up your desk in the first place, and what really stops people from getting pain at work. Mind you, there are nice mice out there are nice chairs out there, but they only probably make up about 10% of your overall, let's just call it work health or gaming health. Now, the best way I can kind of go through this is not kind of make a whole video from scratch. There's plenty of those videos already. In fact, I did find one that was published last year. We're going to go through it now, and I'll pause it in bits and pieces to add my kind of 2 cents to each of them.
Here's your desk, your chair, monitor, keyboard, mouse, phone, a plant? Sure. Problem is, your desk isn't really built for you. It's for anyone. Spending 8 hours a day reaching, slouching, or craning can lead to pain. At least that's what John Sinkay from the Hospital for Special Surgery says.
I do say that every day.
Yeah, so I do agree with what John Sinkay is saying there. All of you are different heights, have different body shapes, different sizes. The table, most of you will have a table that's at a set height. Some can go up and down, and that's a bit of a luxury. But most of the time, it's the table that's going to be the thing that can't be moved. And what we need to do is adjust the chair, the monitor, and everything else around it. Obviously, bigger tables, more space generally are better. All right, and now let's see what John has to say.
So he's here to, well, he can tell you.
I'm here to show you how to set up your desk ergonomically so you can avoid pain later on in life. Step 1, adjust your chair. The average desk height is 29 to 30 inches tall. For some, this could be too tall or too short. That's where your chair comes in. The first thing you want to do is adjust the height. When you do, make sure your elbows are bent to 90 degrees. So if a person's feet are not touching the floor, this could become an issue. So we're going to give her a footstool. If you don't have access to a footrest, we recommend using a ream of paper.
All right, so lots of good points made there. They already confirmed that the table could be too high or too low, so you need to simply raise your chair to that height. Now, if you don't have a chair that can raise, kind of a budget option is to get a few pillows to sit on top of that. Though it's not the best solution, because if your chair can't be raised, it probably doesn't have any armrests, which are probably a nice thing to have. It is nice to have your arms at 90 degrees. You can kind of see the benefits of that. One is that your forearm and your wrists will be in more comfortable positions, not bent too much or too little. And the other thing is that normally, if your table has enough space and your monitor is not too close to you, then you can rest your forearm. Now, in some cases, you can sit up much closer, the chair can go almost underneath, and you can rest your whole forearm on the table instead. And again, not so needed for like typing, but if you're playing any sort of computer game, particularly ones that require lots of arm movements, it will be very helpful to do that. If you're more just trying to work at home, and this is kind of what it looks like at home already, then it would be nicer if your elbows could be supported. Now, if the table is too high, but then you adjust your chair, and then your feet can't reach the ground, well, yes, it will be nice to plant your feet on something. The reason why it's nice to have your feet supported is that, well, you can easily try it. If you have your feet hanging, you need to use more energy to try and balance from your thighs onwards. If you got your feet on the ground, it would be much more comfortable to do so. And if, of course, you're a gamer, the more stability you have anywhere from the shoulders downwards, then the more precise you can be with your shoulder and hand movements for your keyboard and mouse or controller. So now we've got the monitor. That's how do we sort that out.
Your monitor. The tip is to have the monitor close enough, about arm's length, so you're able to read without having to strain your eyes or to bend forward and adjust your posture. So what you want to do is raise the monitor up till the top of the screen is eye level. If your monitor is not adjustable in height, use your reams of paper. Much better.
Great. So we're only looking at the single monitor at the moment, and he's made some good points. So the first one is the monitor distance. So it should be about an arm's distance from you. So this is, yeah, I'm almost touching my webcam at the end of my reach here. So what that does usually is that the screen is usually at a good distance that, like he said, doesn't have the eye strain. You're not tending to focus too close like that, and we do notice any further it tends to be a bit too far anyway. So the arm's length tends to be a nice distance. Now in terms of how high that monitor is, got good points there as well. Typically, if you even ask an optometrist, they would advise that the eyes match the top of the screen, and most of the time the screen will be vertical, so no tilting towards or away. Some would say that a bit of tilt is nice, and that's really just preference. You can always try that out, but the key things are the distance and that it's generally at least to your eye level. All right, so let's look at if there are more than one monitor or if you have a laptop.
From two monitors, consider how you use them. If you have a primary monitor, you want that directly in front of you. If you use both monitors equally, you want them lined up so you are in the middle of the two. For a laptop, you want to use a kickstand to raise the screen up to the proper height. Then you can attach an external keyboard and mouse to it.
Most people, I would say, probably would use one monitor the most. So typing the Word document, and maybe they've got an extra article they're looking or referring to. So this is the typical setup I would recommend, and depending on left or right, it's really up to you. If you do use monitors quite equally, perhaps you're flicking and copying things across most of the time and not so much staring at one screen, this could be beneficial. Let me know if you actually do that. I usually notice that people would focus on one monitor, and in that sense it makes the most sense to just have the one primary one facing you. Now in terms of the laptops, so usually the laptop screen will be way too low, so you can put it higher, and of course that will make the keyboard really awkward to use. So of course you usually have an external mouse and keyboard. Now you can see if I have this here, not great already. I might end up doing that, and you can see my neck is not looking nice at all. Now the bigger no-no is if some of you are on a bed or something like that and you're having your legs in front of you and your laptop is sitting on your lap, you're going to be bending and hunching even more. So just don't do that. Mind you, of course, this is a nice setup for desk and defeats the purpose of a laptop, which is portability. But many of you are using the laptops for many hours on end at home. You might as well set yourselves up right properly. All right, now the mouse and the keyboard.
Where your hands end up is where your keyboard should be. Your mouse should end up right next to your keyboard. You want to move from your elbow instead of your shoulder to prevent overuse or strain or pain. The key is not to reach for your tools.
Yep, generally you don't want to be too outstretched, don't want to be too cramped up. Generally, if you just have your arms in front of you, remember your elbows are around 90 degrees, then that would be completely fine already. Now, of course, this is mostly for typing and just general mouse uses to go through web pages. If you are playing a game that requires a lot of mouse movement, then usually you might need to change this up a little bit more differently. All right, so the next section.
You want to put the phone on your non-writing side so you don't have to cradle it to your shoulder. This could eventually lead to neck pain. If you're on the phone a good portion of your day, you want to consider using a headset. That way your hands are free to write down anything or to type on the computer.
All right, so it makes sense. If you have the phone on the side that you normally writing with or using the mouse constantly with, then you're going to have the problem where how you're going to hold the phone. You're going to probably do this, and that's not going to be nice for your neck. But the other things are, where else would you put things like a document? So say you're transcribing something onto the word processor. Now the common thing people might do is, instead of having the keyboard close to you and having the document behind it, they do the opposite. They have the keyboard pushed far away, and now my arms are too far and a bit straining my shoulders here, while the document's kind of close to your chest. So yeah, take notice of those things. And this is sometimes why it's been nice to have 2 monitors. Step 5. Now this is why I like this video. This step here and the next step are more important than anything we went through so far.
5, move. After 10-15 minutes, we all begin to slouch in our chairs. So here are some basic exercises you can do while sitting in your chair. The first exercise is a chin tuck. The second exercise is for your upper traps. You're going to do a basic stretch where you bend your head to one side and then gently pull for a little more oomph. The third exercise is called a scapular retraction. You basically are going to squeeze your shoulders back. The fourth exercise is for your lower back. This is what we call a pelvic tilt. The most important thing you want to do is get up out of your chair every hour. Get up and walk. Get something to eat. Get something to drink. Just get up.
Now, don't think of it too specific going, you gotta do this exact exercise. The whole point of these exercises are just helping you to move the joints and the muscles that obviously haven't moved much when you're kind of fixated at the computer screen. So, there's not much side movements here. You're not really leaning forward or moving back. You're kind of in the same position all the time. So the good points about those exercises are just moving those areas that aren't moving that much, which is then leading on to the second point, which is the more important thing, is you're seated. There's not much you can do in the sitting position to move some of the things that aren't moving as much as they need to, unless you simply aren't sitting. So you get up, have a walk. If it's lunch, actually go to a different table. You don't have all your water and all your drinks on the table. Kind of can forces you to get up and have a break, because really, no matter how well you set up all these things, your body will eventually fatigue. So these are the key points I wanted to emphasize for those thinking about all sorts of different equipments for their desks. Really, first of all, no matter how well you set it up, you need to stretch, move around, move into positions that you're not usually in because of that static sitting posture. But when it does come to your desk, there are obviously some things that aren't really movable, like a table. So your monitor, your chair, and anything you use like your mouse and keyboard and documents, those can be adjusted to be more optimal. And as you can see in the beginning of the video, you got the little tips on how to actually do that. So let me know what you think. Drop a comment, drop a like, drop a subscribe. And when it does come to more specific things like different types of mice and how they have different shapes and sizes, different keyboards and different type of design of the keys, all those things are really, really tiny things in comparison to the bigger picture, which is what we have now. So that's all I have, and stay tuned for next time.